Naya Rivera was a famous actress who once starred in the hit television show series known as Glee. In July of 2020, she went missing, and the sheriff's office posted this video of her last known whereabouts in hopes of finding her. What seems to be a simple boat outing with her son has only raised more questions than answers from her concerned fans. Comment sections are flooded with people who believe something sinister happened on the day of her disappearance, and I wanted to give an analysis on the points these commenters bring up. For example, no one knows why Naya parks so far away from the boat, or why she is unable to park between the lines at 1 minute and 10 seconds. I think it's odd, but not necessarily a sign that something is definitely wrong. Next, when Naya gets out of the car, some people claim that she walks too far ahead of her child and doesn't look back to make sure he's doing okay. They think she is in too much of a hurry and not in her right mind. I think this is a valid point, but there's no audio, so we don't know if she's talking to him over her shoulder to make sure he's okay. He doesn't seem to have much of a problem keeping up, so I think people are exaggerating here. They get on the boat and Naya has enough experience to untie it from the dock and start it herself. She obviously has done this before, and seems to feel comfortable enough at this point to go boating without supervision. It's a calm day as they pull away, and nothing else seems that out of the ordinary. Yet somehow this accomplished actress does not return. Days later, her son was found sleeping on the boat by himself. His life jacket was on, and Naya's life jacket was found on the boat but not on her body. For some reason, she was not wearing hers. Exactly what happened from there is not clear. The young boy describes being in the water at some point and getting pushed onto the boat by his mother. He turned around and saw Naya disappear under the water with his own eyes. It was the last time he ever saw her. Nobody would discover her until days later, when authorities identified her via dental records. Some commenters are saying that she did all of this on purpose, but from what I've read, she loved her child dearly and would never do such a thing. And as far as I'm concerned, this video does not prove she did anything wrong. This gas station CCTV video, released by the Jonesboro Police in Arkansas, looks normal at first, but an extremely unsettling moment is about to unfold. At exactly 1 minute, this woman taps on the shoulder of a teenager and seems to ask her a question. The teen points to someone at the counter, and then something bizarre happens. So it looks like this girl was waiting for her mother, who is the cashier, to get off work, when some scary lady walks up and grabs her without warning. Her mother intervenes and manages to separate the two before anything else can happen. It's frightening to think about what she would have planned to do next if she had successfully taken this girl out of the gas station. Probably nothing good, and the already strange situation only gets weirder from there. The woman confronts a customer who doesn't know her at all and accuses him of doing something that she clearly was just caught on camera doing herself. She hangs around for a bit longer, and everyone is just kind of shocked and doesn't know how to react. She leaves a minute later, but not before giving the girl a really creepy wave goodbye that I'm sure freaked her out even worse than she already was. As far as I know, this woman is yet to be sentenced and may instead be committed to an institution. On October 27, 2018, a 26-year-old post office worker named Kiera Coles went missing in Chicago, and her disappearance has never been explained. A neighbor's CCTV camera shows Kiera is about to head to work in her postal uniform, but instead of walking to her car like usual, she instead walks up and down the street, passing by her residence 2 times before crossing the street and disappearing for good. Pacing back and forth in front of her house indicates that Kiera was in a state of confusion, if not distress. Nobody else is seen on camera, but I think she could have felt watched and didn't want someone to see where she was parked or where she lives. Kiera later calls out of work at the post office, which is weird considering she was dressed and ready to leave, and she is never found or heard from again. Her friends told authorities that they didn't think she would disappear on purpose and hadn't been acting strangely lately. She was pregnant with a child and unlikely to do anything out of the ordinary or leave unannounced. To further add to the mystery, her mother searches Kiara's car later on and finds her daughter's purse and phone are still there, but her keys and wallet are missing. I think it's possible that Kiara was forced into a car by someone and made to drive to an ATM to make a cash withdrawal, which would explain why her wallet was gone. And if she intended to go to work, then it's only logical that her keys would have been on her too. Police suspect foul play and are offering a reward of $46,000 to whoever can provide more information about her whereabouts and help bring justice to her and her family. They've run out of leads and thus far, no one has stepped forward to supply them with more information. I'm hoping on the off chance that someone out there knows more. In March of 2013, a woman named Eliza Sherman had her life taken while going to meet her divorce attorney. CCTV video shows a mysterious figure running away from where Eliza was later found. The mysterious person running away is all bundled up from head to toe and has their face concealed in a successful attempt to keep their identity from the street cameras. They seem to be holding something under their arm, perhaps hiding the instrument they've just used to end Eliza's life with. Police are unable to locate any other surveillance video of the suspect and have no idea what they were driving or where they went afterwards. Facial recognition technology was unable to provide their true identity. No one has been identified in over 7 years and the case has gone cold. And then there's the subject of Eliza's divorce attorney, who actually lied to police about his whereabouts and was convicted for it. He falsely texted that he was waiting for her in his office when he had actually left long ago. Why he would leave his office early when they had an appointment is a mystery, unless that is, he somehow knew she wasn't going to make it to the appointment. Though the circumstances are curious, nothing has been proven, and so no suspects, including himself, have been convicted for her disappearance. On March 6th of 2015, CCTV video at a bus stop shows a woman walking down Wellington Street in England late at night from a pub. Behind her walks a man who she later describes as having black hair and in his early 20s. The man starts a far distance away but quickly gains on her without arousing suspicion. By the time they are out of camera, he is practically right behind her, and yet he remains quiet enough not to get her attention, like he's done this many times before. It's a well-lit street, but that doesn't stop him from making his move. She never turns around and doesn't stand a chance against him. I can't go into detail about what happens next. She survived, but she will never be the same emotionally again from the traumatic events that occurred. The same man is also responsible for committing similar acts on an 18-year-old girl a month prior to this video. I don't think he was ever caught, and no doubt he will continue to do the same thing until he is brought to justice. This happened years ago, so who knows how many others he has done this to in the time since. There's a £5,000 reward for anybody who can help police. The CCTV video is grainy and it happened a long time ago, but hopefully somebody recognizes a clothing article or something. Anything to help catch this maniac before he strikes again. At 3:15 p.m. on February the 9th, 2004, a woman named Maura Murray withdrew $280 from an ATM. She looked serious, even frowning perhaps, or maybe I'm looking too deeply into it. Either way, this is the last recorded appearance before she disappeared in a way that's never been explained. 4 hours after this video was taken, multiple witnesses saw Maura Murray on the side of the road with a broken down car. A school bus driver pulled over to help out, but she told him that she had already called AAA, even though phone records later revealed that she hadn't, and so he left her alone, but not before reporting the bizarre experience to the police himself. When the cops arrived 20 minutes later, they found some of her personal belongings were in the car, but missing were her credit cards and cell phone. Maura Murray herself was nowhere to be found. For some strange reason, she simply wandered away from her vehicle after it broke down. None of her credit cards were ever used, and her cell phone was not used either, which probably means she didn't make it very far, and yet her body was never found. Police think she might have been planning to take her own life, but if she was planning to do this, then she would obviously have no use for money, so why would she need to take out almost $300 beforehand? Maura appears to be alone in the ATM video, so it's likely nobody is making her do any of this. The police have never been able to figure out her motives or if she's still alive. Maura called out of work that day and wrote she was having relationship problems with her boyfriend, but whether this was of her own free will or if someone was making her do this to cover their tracks remains to be determined, and quite possibly never will be properly explained. Nothing else happened for almost 12 years until a rather sinister video was uploaded on YouTube. This video, titled "Where I Put Maura," shows an empty barn in the middle of the woods. A man is laughing over a picture of Maura Murray, but we never do get to see what they look like. Nobody has been able to identify where this barn is or who uploaded this video. It could be a false lead or her actual final resting place. We'll never know for sure, and police, for whatever reason, apparently have stopped trying to find out. These scary stories sound made up until you see the video evidence that goes with it. That's when these scary moments become all too real. Franco TV is one of the few ghost hunters I've come across who isn't afraid to investigate solo. In fact, he prefers it. Charging into the middle of the action and staying put is his style. Rarely does he run. On September 7th, 2018, Franco TV goes to an abandoned house that's way out in the Florida forest. I can't tell you the exact location, but I can tell you the name, the Edison House. What's inside leaves him a sweat-soaked mess. The address is so secret that he had to track down some of the previous owners to find it, and since no one can stand living here for more than a few months, there were plenty of previous owners to choose from. It was accidentally built over a gravesite according to them. And that's all they will say because it's so cursed that just talking about it could possibly bring about years of misfortune. None of this concerns Franco enough to keep him from going inside. Through the condemned door is a trashed interior that fills the investigator with the type of dread that burns stronger with every step. Everything about it feels off and wrong in a way he can't explain. Past a crumbling kitchen is a small kid's room that feels colder than the rest of the house. And as he's reading but not adhering to the simple instructions on the wall,
get out.
he hears the giggle of a child. The laughter comes from behind him, practically in his ear. Across from him, this witch-like face appears against the window. It's most visible at approximately 3 minutes and 12 seconds, eyes and all. Undeterred, he goes to where it was standing and looks inside the room he was just in. As he's doing this, the same face now regards him through a crack in the doorway at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. It doesn't look like it's part of the door, but I guess it could be. The upstairs is cramped and uncomfortably hot. Down the hall is a red handprint that could belong to a child, except it's too high up on the wall. Perhaps they were struggling with someone trying not to be carried into this room. As Franco stares into the room, dozens of comments point out this figure staring back out at him from within the closet, just like the far wall says. I couldn't really see anything at first, but when I did, I suddenly wished I didn't try so hard. Something's there. Franco doesn't spend much time in this room because he gets an especially bad feeling, but one thing I noticed was this jet black spirit orb float up towards him and disappear. That's not a bug. The anxiety he gets from the second floor is a little too much, even for him, and look what happens when he goes back downstairs.
I'm hearing all sorts of noises everywhere, and I don't have no cover at all, and I'm in the middle of the forest. So that's kind of like one of the reasons why it's going to be a little bit weird for me, because I can't deal with that.
This just so happens to be one of the only times he films behind him, so maybe this part is set up. Anyway, this was back when a supernatural challenge called Charlie Charlie was popular, and so he decides to play around before calling it quits. He sets up 2 pencils and waits for the ghost to respond.
Is there anyone in this house right now? Is there anyone that's
I don't know about you, but I see no string.
Do you wish me to leave this area?
A closer look under the light at 9 minutes and 17 seconds shows that nothing is tied around the pencil at all. He follows its advice and goes outside. By now, Franco is soaked in sweat and still hearing movements that I don't think he's making up because they sound too far away, deeper in the forest.
And from there, from there I'm gonna head home. After that I'm done. I gotta get out of here.
Part of him wants to leave, but he knows he has to explore the surrounding property because it's where more spirits roam around their unmarked graves. While staring out into the wilderness, he hears them.
What the is that?
It's not traffic because there's no roads out here, and exactly 2 seconds later it's accompanied by a voice warning him never to return.
Holy crap.
Advice that Franco TV decides to take as he walks away from the Edison house with the blank, horrified stare of a man who has been shown far too much. Morgan Adams is a popular YouTuber who doesn't ordinarily focus on paranormal content at all. So when she recently suspected that her house was haunted, you know I had to take a look. Let's go over the evidence and see if her suspicions are correct. She claims to hear tapping and scratching on the walls, which could be an animal, but then there's whispers too. When this happens, she uses Snapchat and almost always detects a second face nearby. She has named the spirit Angie and it seems to have become quite attached. Angie often responds to her own name.
Angie! Oh my god! Angie, you have a lot of new friends that would like to say hi. Oh my god!
Though Snapchat could be mistaking the shelf behind her for a winking face, and these two objects on the wall for eyes, Angie typically lurks around the corner of the house reserved for overnight visitors, coincidentally the same area where her dog Ollie absolutely refuses to go. Even with the promise of a treat, Ollie will only allow himself to go so far before he refuses to budge. Some dogs have trouble keeping their balance on hardwood floors and can actually develop a fear of them over time. I thought that could be Ollie's deal because he puts one paw on the wood and stops at 9 minutes and 8 seconds. But at 8 minutes and 52 seconds he has no problem walking on the same type of floor, so that can't be why. I think Morgan Adams could be giving a verbal command for Ollie to sit when she says okay at 9 minutes and 8 seconds. You tell me if Ollie is doing a trick or if he senses something and is too nervous to go forward.
Come on. Okay, come on.
I don't think it's fake because then she tells him to come on and he still won't move, and when Morgan gets to the end of the hall she hears a noise and shudders. Plus Ollie isn't the only animal acting weird. Her cat will freeze at the door like someone is on the other side, and Morgan even hears knocking sometimes.
Cut it out right now. Stop!
There's never anything there, and yet the cat stares at the wall as if something has its attention.
Literally? I'm gonna freak out if you don't stop. Oh my orbs, literally.
An orb of light also flies in the direction that her cat is staring. Odd indeed. Oh, and there's also this strange Snapchat photo taken in the middle of the night. It could be something photoshopped, but I see something more to it. To the left of the shadow person, I see a face on the wall, and another peeking out from behind the covers. It almost looks like the exact same from a photo taken at the mountain pass, where Angie the spirit first followed Morgan home. And if you're wondering where Angie is in the photo, check out Morgan's shoulder. The dark hair is not hers. Finally, one night her dad lets it slip that the property was built near an old burial ground. Tell me if you think he is telling the truth here or not.
Do you think our house is haunted?
Nope.
The way he pauses and looks away makes me think he could have been trying to avoid saying anything that could make his daughter worry any more than she already has been. So is all of this real or fake? I'm 50-50 on this one, so your opinions will help me decide. Way of Vlogs is a YouTuber with a hidden talent that he's only recently begun to share with the world, a skill that he says only takes patience and practice to master. With a burst of mental energy, he can make a can roll towards him, or maybe he pushed the table to make the can roll forward and yelled to cover up the noise.
No strings whatsoever. As you can tell, see? Nothing attached to it. No magnets inside. So you can see I'm shaking it around, no magnets.
I personally think it might have been the latter, but watch again and tell me what you see. Next, he makes the object fall over without touching it. There could be a fishing wire in his hand, but if so, it should show up easily against his black clothes, and it does not, at least not as far as I can tell. He definitely doesn't push on the table this time either. Still, if he could have made the object fall the other way, then it would show he was not using a fishing wire once and for all. I don't know about you, but at this point I'm still uncertain. So I guess people must have been saying he was using a string, because in the next video he holds his hands out to show he is not using one at all. However, as one commenter pointed out, he could have a string wrapped around his toe or something. It does kind of look like he might be moving his foot, but it's hard to say. But when he shows the cup without any hesitation, it makes what he says seem kind of legit.
Now just to make sure that there isn't any strings or anything involved, look. I'll use my shirt.
I don't really analyze many videos like this because I don't necessarily believe in them, but vlogs like this are enough to make me wonder. Give me your thoughts about this subject, and tell me if you think this is fake, or if he's able to somehow move objects through sheer will. I've got a challenge for you. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. Number 1. This port city in western Saudi Arabia looks like the aftermath of a building collapse, or else some kind of terrible eruption, but it's none of that. It's actually just starting and the worst is yet to come. The massive plume of smoke spreads evenly across the horizon, and at 1 minute and 15 seconds you briefly get a glimpse of where it finally ends. There's no outrunning this event, and finding shelter is almost pointless. The cloud is growing taller by the minute as it heads towards them. The air is becoming gritty and it's getting harder to breathe. Vehicles desperately try to get away at the last second, but it's too late for any of them to get far, nor the cameraman for that matter, who seems resigned to his fate and makes no such attempt. This is a massive sandstorm, and if you haven't found shelter by now, you're in big trouble. The winds pick up and everything around him starts creaking unsteadily.
Yan, nandito na. Nandito na ang isang storm. Darating na. Sige.
Someone tell me what his last words are, and if you think he made it through this event.
Yan, oh. Hindi ka magpalit.
Those are the last recorded moments before I assume the sand broke his camera. We may not get to see what happens next, but I doubt it was anything good. Either way, there's something about the possibility of this whole town getting buried alive that makes this video creepy beyond words.